Yo, what's up, people? It's your boy, I'm Kristaps Porzingis, and I am back with another video. Now, we're going to be talking about what Colin Cowherd said about Kyrie Irving in a quick hot second. But basically, on Colin Cowherd's television show, he considered Kyrie Irving's decision as a superstar who is needy, a very demanding superstar, and he could not understand why Kyrie Irving would want to leave a situation such as the Cleveland Cavaliers as well as LeBron James. Now, Colin Cowherd, if I'm talking to him as of right now, you should definitely understand what Kyrie Irving is going through, because you was in this situation as you had yourself in that same type of situation for yourself. All right, when you used to work for ESPN, ESPN is still, and it was back then, one of the most destination places for any journalist to go to. It was the highest of the plateaus. Okay, that's where a lot of sports journalists gravitated to ESPN. You had a great living at ESPN. You was getting paid well. You had a radio show, a television show. You know, you was making tons of money. And then ultimately you left ESPN because you said, quote, in an article talking about your decision about moving from ESPN to Fox, you considered that challenging. You wanted a challenge, even though you was at the highest of the highest plateaus. You was making money. There was no need for you to go to Fox. Basically, you was in line, and you was pretty much in the same organization, had the best of journalists, of analysts, and you decided to take your talents elsewhere, to go to Fox Sports 1, which when you joined Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 1 was not even considered competition for ESPN. All right, the time slot you took, and as well as Undisputed, in that time slot, they pretty much had that for rodeos and kickball tournaments and CrossFit tournaments and things of that nature. All right, so you went to you left an A tier to join some could say at that particular time a C or D type of grade when you're talking about Fox Sports 1. Now, Fox Sports 1 has grew, and it is popular than it once was, and that could be contribute to your radio show, your TV show, as well as other analysts that jumped and left ESPN to go to Fox. But you consider that a career move. You consider that you wanted a challenge in your life, okay? Which we all knew why you left ESPN. That was just your way, your alibi out of a situation, because let's just face facts, the people that went to Fox Sports 1 had a huge issue with ESPN and management, because ESPN wanted, they was being bought out by Disney, and Disney wanted a family-friendly type of atmosphere network. They didn't want controversial journalists or loudmouths or analysts who sometimes go against the grain, or let's just say talk about things that Disney and ESPN as well as ABC consider them controversial topics that are not deemed family friendly. Okay, you could use that excuse, but that's fine. But Colin Cowherd, you are a prime example of what Kyrie Irving is really wanting. He wants the best for his career. All right, he wants new challenges in his life. Okay, the same could be said for LeBron James. Even though LeBron James hasn't necessarily bashed Kyrie Irving on his trade requests, his trade demands, but even LeBron James himself should understand this, because this is the atmosphere that you created, LeBron James. You wanted you wanted options on the table. That's why you never signed long-term contracts with none of the teams that you have signed for, all right? That's the prime reason why you signed a short contract on your first, with your first extent with Cleveland. And when you had your player option, you opt out and you took your talents to South Beach, all right? Because you felt like you could not get any players to join you at Cleveland, all right? Now, the Cleveland organization, as well as yourself, tried in your first extent with Cleveland. You tried to get Amari Stoudemire. Amari Stoudemire didn't want to join Cleveland, all right? Yes, you guys, got certain players, but you got those players when they're not at their prime. One example is you got Shaquille O'Neal, all right? But at that particular time, Shaquille O'Neal was on his last legs, okay? But if Shaquille O'Neal was in his prime, do you think Shaquille O'Neal would choose the Cleveland Cavaliers as a destination that he wants to go to? Chances are no, okay? So, you guys, as well as LeBron, as well as the Cleveland Cavaliers organization, you guys have tried when your first stint in Cleveland, you was unsuccessful of getting and attracting NBA superstars as well as NBA talent to gravitate to Cleveland, all right? So LeBron James went to Miami. Now, some people thought that that move was petty, that move was cowardly, but if you look at LeBron James and if you look at it through his viewpoint, he realized and understood that LeBron James, cannot gravitate talent to him, so he has to go to another destination that already has talent. In that summer, he was trying to land Chris Bosh to Cleveland, and Chris Bosh said no, he's going to Miami, and that's one of the reasons why LeBron James chose Miami. He was good friends with Dwayne Wade, he's cool with Chris Bosh, and the rest, they say, was history. Okay, they had a very successful stint between the three of them. Now, when it was time for LeBron James to opt out, he noticed that if you look at the landscape of the Miami Heat, Chris Bosh was ailing, and his production was going down, and some could say, and some could contest that the reason why his production was going down because he had to, basically take some of his minutes that he were dominated and divvied it out to LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. Some could use that argument, all right? But LeBron James saw the writing on the wall. Chris Bosh, he's ailing. And as far as Dwayne Wade goes, he was becoming a much older player, and sooner or later Miami was going to pay the piper, and they had to ultimately sign Dwayne Wade to a huge contract, okay? Because Dwayne Wade had to basically throughout the years and his time and his stint in Miami, he took lesser deals so the Miami Heat can get better and attractive pieces so the Miami Heat could contend, okay? So LeBron James left there, the coming home speech, he went back to Cleveland, and basically he got everything he wanted out of Cleveland that he couldn't get from Miami. He had influence, he had control, he had say-so, particularly with players and with coaches, okay? And Dan Gilbert was willing to go over the salary cap and pay luxury tax for LeBron James to stay in Cleveland, all right? Now, during his stint in Cleveland, they've been in consecutive playoffs, they have been in consecutive finals, and they have won one chip, okay? And now when you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, particularly with the Golden State Warriors, the Golden State Warriors was a good team, okay? And the Golden State Warriors got better. They signed Kevin Durant last summer, and the rest, they say, is history. There's the Cleveland Cavaliers, as well as LeBron James, is trying to make deals that can top that deal. But if you look at the current landscape of the NBA, they're going to have a hard time doing that or generating that because they don't have any draft picks. They don't have any draft picks for the foreseeable future that they could just mortgage away for a younger talent, because they use those draft picks for the players that they have now. Okay, one of those things, like I said earlier, LeBron James went to Cleveland because he had influence and he also had control. They signed Tristan Thompson to an offer that no one else was going to sign Tristan Thompson. Now, Tristan Thompson is a good player, but when you look at his salary don't dictate the production that you're going to ultimately get from Tristan Thompson. They overpaid for J.R. Smith. They kept Iman Shumpert a little bit too long, and now no one wants Iman Shumpert. Okay, Kevin Love, he's an attractive piece, but when you look at his salary and you look at Kevin Love, a lot of teams are not interested in Kevin Love. All right, so even though a lot of people are not talking about this, the only piece they had to make that team somewhat better, it was Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving saw that. Plus, Kyrie Irving saw the future of the Cleveland Cavaliers because LeBron James is not committed in staying longer than the contract that he's currently in. And then after next summer, he's going to check his options. And there's a strong indication that LeBron James is going to leave the Cleveland Cavaliers. Okay, and if that transpires, then Kyrie Irving is left with a squad that may dictate to LeBron James' strengths, LeBron James' talent, LeBron James' game. But when you look at those pieces and then you look at Kyrie Irving, none of those pieces influence or attracts for Kyrie Irving. So that's why Kyrie Irving wants a trade demand. As far as the horizon goes, LeBron James is non-committed 1 year, and then when he leaves, he's stuck with these pieces that no one wants. Okay, that's basically in a nutshell what's going on. All right, now if you look at the teams Kyrie Irving is interested in, there's a lot of NBA analysts that are saying that, oh well, Kyrie Irving is pretty much being non-committal with the teams. Now, there has been a Bleacher Report that went down a couple of days ago that Kyrie Irving is willing to sign a long-term extension with the San Antonio Spurs. Now, Colin Cowherd, if he's a needy player, then why would he want to go to the San Antonio Spurs? Because that don't jive, that don't fit together, all right? Basically, he's going to the San Antonio Spurs because when you look at the organization, it's rock solid, okay? It's not teetering towards the superstar player, and it's not teetering all the way towards the coach, okay? It's pretty balanced, okay? Kawhi Leonard is a good player, okay? A great player. And if you compare him, if Kyrie Irving lands there, then you have the making of a great team with Kyrie Irving and Kawhi Leonard. And I forgot the power forward they used to play for the Portland Trail Blazers. His name escapes me, I'm sorry. But when you when you have that chemistry together, when you have those types of players together, and then you have that team as well as Greg Popovich, Kyrie Irving could be in several playoffs for the foreseeable future with the San Antonio Spurs. Is that enough to topple or beat up the Golden State Warriors? Well, we don't know. But if you look at it on paper, they may have a rough time and a rough shot with the Golden State Warriors. But when you look at it in a bigger picture sort of sense, every team in the NBA, including the East as well as the West, are going to have a hard time with the San Antonio Spurs. The Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors are not considered a cakewalk, okay? So that's what's going on. Yes, Colin Cowherd talked about what Charles Barkley said, but when you look at Charles Barkley, he was never in the position of having an opportunity to play with the Bad Boy Pistons, the Michael Jordan Bulls, or even the Los Angeles Lakers, with Magic Johnson, he never had his contract constructed where he had an opportunity to go to any of those teams, okay? Now, if you look at Charles Barkley, he was with the 76ers, then he traded to the Phoenix Suns. He had his best playoff success with the Phoenix Suns, and then when he was getting close to the end of his career, he chose the Houston Rockets, okay? If Charles Barkley had his contract situated like LeBron James, he may have won a chip or two, okay? When you look at Ron Harper, a lot of people, there was one guy got on me about Ron Harper, but the point I was making about Ron Harper was when Ron Harper was talking about Kyrie Irving and talking about how it's selfish, it's childish, it's idiotic, it's what young people do, sort of say. And by all means, I'm not saying Kyrie Irving's decision is courageous. I'm not going as far as what David Griffin said, okay? But I will say I understand why he's at this point in his life, okay? He sees the future of Cleveland Cavaliers. It doesn't look too bright, okay? And he wants to get out of there as soon as possible, okay? But when I was talking about Ron Harper, I was not belittling Ron Harper. I wasn't disrespecting Ron Harper. But the point I was making about Ron Harper was when he was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he paired up against Hot Rod Strickler. I forgot his name. And when the power forward, he's an analyst for ESPN. I keep forgetting his name. His name always escapes me. And then with Price, they used to have matchups against Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, and they could never get over the hump with the Chicago Bulls, okay? And ultimately, he had his best career, like it or not, love it or hate it. It wasn't with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it wasn't with the later years with the Los Angeles Clippers. It was more with the Chicago Bulls. He won titles with the Chicago Bulls, but one could say he was along with the ride, okay? Let's just face facts. Even if the Chicago Bulls never picked up Ron Harper, they still would have won those 3 rings. A lot of people, they had Michael Jordan, but they also had Scottie Pippen. They had Tony Kukoc. They had Dennis Rodman. They had enough pieces to win those 3 titles, even without Ron Harper. Now, Ron Harper did contribute. I did say in my video that Ron Harper tended to defend the best player on the other team, and that way, particularly in Michael Jordan's later years, he wouldn't use so much energy to defend those players, okay? Because let's just face facts. Michael Jordan was a great defender in his prime, but Michael Jordan saw the foreseeable future. He said he cannot continue to use so much energy on the offensive end, so much energy on the defensive end. Sooner or later, it was going to give. Having Ron Harper there was a blessing in disguise. He could take that player, and Michael Jordan can rest up on the defensive end, and he was still a defensive presence on the defensive end. But that's the point I was making about Ron Harper, okay? He was a good player, but when you look at Ron Harper as an individual when he was in his prime, particularly with the Cleveland Cavaliers, he didn't do so much. He didn't do too good, okay? That's the only point I was making, okay? So, yes, when you look at Colin Cowherd, his career path, his career decisions are similar to what Kyrie Irving is doing as of right now, okay? All Kyrie Irving is doing is looking at the landscape of the future, particularly with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers, when you look at them, they are not a prime destination, even with LeBron James this summer. Nobody was willing to sign the league minimum. Nobody was willing to trade to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Carmelo Anthony had an opportunity to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but he chose not to because LeBron James was non-committal. He's only committing for this year. And if they had to get Carmelo Anthony, they would have to lose Kyrie Irving. Okay? And Carmelo Anthony is looking at this situation, well, okay, basically I'm leaving. Even though the New York Knicks are stinking up high water, he's not joining a team that's already has talent, that's stacking talent upon talent. He's basically looking at that position as, well, they're replacing younger talent, Kyrie Irving, for me. Okay, so I don't think that's a good decision for myself. Plus, LeBron James is non-committal about staying with the Cleveland Cavaliers past this summer. Okay, that's why he turned that deal. He took his name out of the hat, and now that's why he's in the running for the Houston Rockets. Okay, so the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James are having a hard time getting superstars to come to them. Okay, and the juggernaut in front of them is the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors really haven't lost anyone. Okay, and if you read an article by Kevin Durant, basically Kevin Durant saying he's willing to take less money to make the team better, okay, to keep the pieces that they have already and to sign other key signings like Nick Young, Swaggy P, okay. They got JaVale McGee. They got that brother back, okay. So the Golden State Warriors are pretty much the same team they were last year. Plus, they got extra pieces, and LeBron James squad, well, they're getting they're decent players. Jeff Green is a decent player. Derrick Rose is a decent player. I didn't see too much from Derrick Rose, particularly with the New York Knicks. Who knows? He may have a great season with the Cleveland Cavaliers, okay, particularly pairing up with LeBron James. But when you look at Derrick Rose in a nutshell, Derrick Rose isn't the same Derrick Rose as he was with the Chicago Bulls when he won MVP. He was a very athletic, explosive player, okay, and ever since then he's been injured, okay. He's been injury prone, okay, other than the New York Knicks, okay, and plus he's non-committal about the NBA in general, okay. He had the incident in Miami with the New York Knicks. He went AWOL. No one knew where the hell he went to. This, that, and the third, and he's got that hanging on him, and that's the reason why the Cleveland Cavaliers got him anyway, okay, for less money. Because if that never transpired last year with the New York Knicks, he could have gotten top dollar from the Los Angeles Clippers, just to throw a name out there. You know, the Minnesota Timberwolves was interested in trading for him at the trading deadline. They was going to give away Ricky Rubio for Derrick Rose, okay. Now, not so much. Now, a lot of people are shying away from Derrick Rose because they have questions about Derrick Rose concerning his health, concerning the incident that happened with him with the New York Knicks, you know. So, I mean, when you look at what the Cleveland Cavaliers did, so far, it's pretty good, okay? But is it good enough to beat the Golden State Warriors? No, okay? Let's just be fair. No. Even with Kyrie Irving, Derrick Rose, which I feel like that's going to be your team when the NBA season starts. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are in no mood, excuse me, they're not in no rush trading for, getting Kyrie Irving out of there, okay? I think they're going to keep the squad that they have right now, roll the dice, hope that everything plays out, okay? So, That's pretty much it. That's like I said, Colin Cowherd, he's the type of player. I mean, he's the type of person that he wants things his way, but when he sees other people wanting to use the same type of system that he's implementing, then he has a problem with it. Okay, and he's kind of hypocritical. And that's the reason why you haven't heard too much from LeBron James, because if LeBron James would comment on this and say, oh, well, Kyrie Irving's not thinking about the team, he's being non-committal, he's not making a commitment, this, that, and the third. If he began to preach this ridiculous argument, a lot of people will come out of the woodwork and go, yo, Bron, come on, chill out. You're pretty much the same player, okay? You're the reason why a lot of these players are non-committal, okay? So it is what it is. Best case scenario for me, he's going to stay with Cleveland. They're going to figure out some way to hash this. I don't think LeBron James is that mad about Kyrie Irving. If anything, he may not respect it, but he may understand why he's doing this, because guess what? LeBron James, you put this out here for players to have options, for players to be non-committal to the organization, okay? And that's what the NBA is now, okay? Yeah, there are a lot of players out there that's signing these long-term extensions, but there's some other players out there that's going like, well, hey, I want to have options just like LeBron James, okay? Kyrie Irving is one of those players that's coming from your line of thinking, okay? So in a nutshell, that's what's going on. Guys, tell me what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. Please, notification gang in the building. Hit that notification icon, that notification bell, so you'll be informed when my next video or live stream is going down. It's your boy. I'm Kristaps 1. I'm out, guys. Peace.